everybody, welcome to the channel for the tournament conclusion video that I usually do at the end of a tournament. This time it's the end of the tournament ETC 2023, which has been the couple of last battle report, has been interesting to analyze. Let's go now over the result. So you should already know that Italy won it. They did an amazing job. Actually, they won it already after 5 rounds, which I'm not sure has been achieved before. But amazing performance from them. And then we had second place for Spain, and third spot was taken by Norway, that was able to jump over a couple of other podium favorites, we could say, between Denmark, Poland, Germany and us. Also Belgium being close. But as you can see, it was really a close affair with only like 8 points between the third and the 7th spot. So for us, obviously, it was disappointing. We had I would say 5 strong opponents between Sweden, France, Poland, Germany, Italy. And we won most of these games, 4 of them. Especially we won with a small margin against Poland, a bit more against Germany, but they still managed to be above us. So obviously the 7th place, I'm not sure reflects really our tournament. We are one of the 4 teams that finished with 5 wins, 1 defeat at the end of the tournament. But obviously we weren't close from the podium, and I think would have been a good target. It was definitely our target before the tournament to try to compete for the first 3 spots. So obviously a bit disappointing for us to end up 7th spot, but at the same time we felt we performed quite well against some of the top team for the 5 rounds that we played. And obviously we had the big disappointment against Italy that won big against us. So that was definitely a round where we had a lot of learnings to take with us for the next time we face them. And definitely they were I think definitely the better team on the day. That was sure. So I could say a bit mixed feeling for us at the end of this tournament. On one side, improvement made in comparison to last year, on the other hand, and definitely one of our best performance at TTC, I would say. And on the other hand, disappointment to finish not on the podium at least. Regarding my army list, so you should already know it pretty well. I filled, like I usually do, my unit impact analysis. So I like to do this map to analyze in detail what each unit, how they perform during the tournament. So as I usually do, I put the score against the teams on top, then my personal score here, and then below you have also the secondary estimation, performance feeling, and in the middle all the unit. So as you know, this concept of a list has been pretty stable for me over the past 3 years. I think the past 2 ETC I already played something very similar to that. A couple of adjustments this year, so I will try to mainly highlight about the changes that I made this year. How did this work? If I was happy with some of the changes or not. First one, the general, the Great Khan. Didn't face much combat, to be honest. Overall, I didn't have a lot of action during this ETC, as you were able to recognize from the battle report, but definitely it didn't do that much combat. Obviously, the need of Leadership 9, I think it's a must-have in an Ogre Khan list, which is not Wild Heart, so not a choice that I regret, but didn't fight a lot. I decided this year to go for a tanky build. I think one of the, I don't know if anyone else played similar build the one that I did, which was basically an almost unkillable Great Khan, or the hardest Great Khan to kill, we could say. And I think that was enough to maybe make my opponent think twice about before engaging my main unit, which was one of the purpose. I like the fact that it was very versatile with his attack. He could go paired weapon, could go great weapon, halberd. I could change depending on the needs that I have. So I kind of like that, but definitely it was less scary Great Khan than the Kagadai version. So I think some positive and negative to take from that. The Khan BSB was basically an additional shooty Merc, so I like him a lot, but he's obviously fragile, as we saw in game number 4, where he died to the champion Troika Anointed attacks. Then I have the 2 Shamans. For a cheap price, I felt I had a decent magical setup, decent range damage done, enough CC buffs, and I like to have 2 mages in the Death Star, because I had unit of only 8 bruisers, so it was key to add some wounds to the unit, and the 2 shamans were a way to do that. So I kind of liked what I achieved for the price. Nevertheless, I felt sometimes I missed some powerful spell because I was like around some cheap spells, so I was able to cast a lot of things, but not the scariest spell in the game, we could say. So also here some positive and negative to take from that, but for the price that I paid, I think it was a very good setup for the price. The core setup, not a lot to say. I would say useful. The 3 versatile units, the 8 bruisers were enough since I had character in the unit, and they perform quite well. The only concern would be the price of the dog. I think they are overpriced at the moment, and it's a useful chaff, but very expensive, and it dies a lot. I think it's just, for me, the only reason to have the dogs in core instead of a 3rd unit of tribesmen is just basically they are not scoring. So it's a piece of chaff that I can use also on Capture the Flag, which is something important, but if that wasn't the case, I would definitely pick another tribesman unit. Then the special category, the unit of Mercvets. The shooty Mercvets, I think, are my best unit of the tournament, as I usually do. I think I have a lot of experience with this unit. I know how to use them, I know the limits, I know the strengths, and I think, again, I use them quite well. They were really precious in KG game. They never died. They always take points, or most of the time take points. So I definitely love the unit, and yeah, they are a key part of the list. So really happy about them, as I usually am. Halbard Mercvets was a new try of this year. I like the fact, since I don't have a lot of units in the list, I like the fact of having this block with the Frosty nearby that basically is hard to charge, but at the same time they didn't achieve a lot. Basically didn't achieve anything significant in combat, mainly a zoning threat. Discipline Banner was interesting to have sometimes scoring unit that is out of the bubble, so I kind of like that. But really, yeah, I also saw some of the limits of the concept, and I'm not sure it's a better choice than the 4 Tuskers that I had the year before. So definitely here's some things that I could I need to think about if I would change a bit the list. Definitely the main point for me of discussion in the list. The Frosty died a couple of times to range damage, but it's a flexible monster that I still like a lot. And also I love the Giant. I think it's very useful on the weak flank. It's very annoying, can force the march check and so on. So really love the Giant Iron Fist. For the price, I think it's a very annoying unit to manage for the opponent. Secondary objectives. So, as you know, it's for me always a focus. I always try to build this that can win most of the secondary. I was able to win 3, lost on all the ground. It was also a close affair. As you saw, I could have win it as well, or at least draw. Draw on King of the Hill was expected on round 2, and then round 6 we didn't play, but most likely I would have lost Capture the Flag. I think it was very hard to achieve at least a draw on that, but that's often my weakest secondary objective with this Ogre Khan list. Estimation, as you can see, I got from pairing 3 positive matchup. I think this one is it should be a 12 or 13. And then I got 3 negative matchup with 1 very negative. The other 2 were playable, but not my favorite one. As usually, ID is not a great match for Ogre Khan. I think my estimation were pretty accurate, to be honest, and I achieved a score that was really close from my estimation, actually. Performance feeling, I felt in 4 games I played okay. In the game number 4, some mistakes on a micro level. I think we both did mistakes, to be honest, on the micro level. And at the end, I made the ones that had the most consequences in the game, basically. Thinking about turn 2, the way I place all my turn 2, the way I place all my darts and chaff, which was not perfect and forced me to take a lot of flea moves, which after that caused me further trouble in the game. Basically, I had a snowball effect of the rest. And obviously, game 6, I didn't find the best deploy, but it was kind of hard. We took time out with the coach, thought about the option, but as it usually is, I mean, if the matchup is really hard, like a 5 estimation, there are not a lot of good options from deployment. Basically, it's what's the less worth. And it's sometimes hard to find the right solution in not a lot of time. And I also don't know if the 3rd option I mentioned in the battle report would have worked or not. It remains a hard matchup, and it's always hard to find the best deployment on hard matchup, basically. time analysis, so I was able to track most of the time. Basically what I wrote down is the time of the start of the turn, end of the turn, and the same for the opponent, which allows me to do a total. I put in green the matchup, the match that we finished, so I was able to finish 3 games out of 5 because I don't count game 6. One game ended up turn 4, the other one turn 5. As you see, I have some question marks, so I don't know about all the numbers, but as you can see, I think worth mentioning here is that most of the time after deployment, you have like 3 hours to play the game. So that's something to recognize. In most of the cases, I think when you have around 10 minutes gap between the 2 players, it's totally normal, basically. Can totally happen. In some cases, like here, we finished earlier, so basically he had some quick turns towards the end, but because the game, there wasn't much to play on his part, which can explain a time gap, but basically the time gap doesn't matter if you're able to finish the game, I would say. And I think here, the only gap that I saw is on the game 5 against France, where we had a gap like on the 17 minutes, which is still significant. I don't know about turn 5, but until turn 4, so it starts to be significant. The rest was pretty close in most games. Also game 4, we're only able to play 4 turns, but I think both of us took some time during deployment and then the turns, and as you can see, it's pretty close at the end. I think I took a bit more time at deployment and then a bit less during the turns, but basically that's how it was, and obviously a bit more on turn 4 on his side because he has to backtrack and change his move, because knowing before the magic phase that it was going to be the last turn, he needed to adjust some of the positioning, which made sense. But basically, as you can see, it's always pretty okay. Most of the turn are between like 12-13 minutes, I would say 13 minutes, and 20 should be most of the turn. If it's over 20, there should be a good reason. For example, a lot of combats and so on. And then in some games, it could be hard to finish. Sometimes I don't know if the setup, it would be also interesting at which time did we start to deploy. I would be interested to see how much time did we spend in each pairing. I think it's also there could be a gap here of 5-10 minutes that also plays a role at the end, so that's also something to consider. But it's not always easy to finish those games at ETC level. There are a lot of things to measure, to verify, and it's not so easy, but I think at least to track the time helps you to get an impression about how long you are during your turns and how you can improve the way you play and to just be faster, basically. So I will try to continue to do that. Conclusion of the tournament. So like I said, mixed feeling. Meta-wise, I felt we had better choices. Army-wise, we were better prepared than last year. We played more, we trained more focused, we discussed more about our games and so on. For me, it was the 3rd year with a similar Ogre Khan list. What I can say is I realized that the power level of Ogre Khan, which ended up below, just at the last part, basically last place of the result of ETC, I realized that the Ogre Khan book is like decreasing performance-wise compared to power level-wise compared to the other books. How can I say that? Is basically if I compare my estimation, my matrix this year in comparison to 2 years before, I think it's completely different. And this is also one of the reasons why in the pairing process I got 3 negative matchup. Like 2-3 years ago, it was easier for me to get positive or drawish matchup as it was this year. So I think that's also some reality showing that the Ogre Khan book is a bit below the other books. Nothing too significant, and as you can see from my numbers, I think I also shown that even with the worst book from ETC, you can still achieve a decent ETC, meaning that no book is really bad, the balance is still pretty good, and actually everything is playable, and you can achieve a decent ETC with any book. So I think that's also something to learn from that. Not focus too much on which book should we not take or take. It's more about the players, what they like to play, what list they have in mind, how they play that, and so on. So I think that's pretty key to look around the players and what they like and what they are able to play, basically, to suit their play style. And obviously for us, I also put the numbers between that was our estimation, what we got after pairing, and that the result. Also interesting to see the gaps between, for example, we have some 55 to 76. So I mean, it's 20-point difference, meaning that some players were able to reach the positive matchup that they wanted. Says also a bit about the power level of their list and the book, I think. And I would expect, basically you should have some correlation between the estimation and the average score to some point, to some extent, because the weaker the book is, the harder it should be to get a lot of positive matchup. Or I mean, obviously there are some exceptions if you have a very strong player that outperform everyone, or a lot of weak players, so to say. It could influence the score in a negative way. You see what I mean? But basically, there is some link, and also important always to compare your score that you achieve in comparison to the matchup estimation. I think this is really key, because what we like at ETC level is to have a lot of stability. You want to be able to predict what you're going to have, the outcome, and so on. So I think that's also pretty key to get something that most of your players outperform. And I think a positive outcome for us was that nobody was really low with his points. So we know we learned from the defeat. We saw what we missed this year, and we need to continue to train more, and come back stronger next year. Basically, we're going to try again. I think we are in the right direction. Speaking about the Swiss team, we are improving, and we have a solid group with a lot of experience, a stable group, which is also a strength. I mean, the 15-20 players in the ETC group have been playing multiple ETC, meaning they have this experience. They know what's expected from them, and we're trying to move the group forward, and one day maybe win ETC. That would be amazing. Guys, that's all for this year, for this ETC. So this concludes the ETC reports on my channel. I hope you liked it. I'm going to come back soon. I have a couple of tournaments coming up, so you will see that soon on my channel. Guys, thanks a lot for watching this battle report. Thanks a lot for your comment. Thanks a lot for the people that came meet me at ETC and have a chat and give some positive feedback on my channel. It always pleases me to talk about that, because to talk about my battle report and how you feel about that, because definitely one of the purpose for me of doing this this content is, first of all, to bring something that I had at the beginning, which is when I started Warhammer Battle back in the day, I was able to watch battle report and to improve thanks to other players that were more veteran than me. So I'm trying to bring that to the newest player, to be like a way to learn and improve. That's very important. Second of all, try to show my methodic, to try to how you can improve, how you can progress, and start from a casual player, which I was back in the day, to a competitive player that plays at ETC level. So I think that's also something I try to show, and obviously try to analyze the game and so on, to try to, it's an interesting game. So I like to do that, and obviously if I can get some chat with players that say that they like the content, the way it's shown, that it's very, it's cool to watch and so on, it's always a great motivation for me to continue to produce those battle reports. Guys, thanks a lot for watching. Talk to you soon on the channel. Bye.